Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, easily one of the most generational units to ever release in Dragon Ball Legends, but it's coming up to a year since his release, so we gotta put him through the gauntlet. This tier list won't end until we get to Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. What this means is, we're gonna be putting him up against every single unit in the game, and until we get to a point where G4 can slide in, we'll keep progressing with the video. At least, that's what I did last time. The plan was to do that, but realistically, this is an outrageous video. I would be here for easily 4 hours, especially if I ordered it. But what I've done on my live stream, we went ahead and done the whole tier list, and I'm gonna break it down for you guys and discuss further regarding Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta's current situation. Let's get into this. So here we are with the full tier list. As you can see, we've got G4 at the top, but he's not staying there. And you've seen already, he doesn't even make a top 18. So I'm gonna scroll down and just show you everyone that clears this unit. We're gonna be scrolling for a minute, so sit tight. Now, what we did on stream is that we separated certain units into tiers, and all of these units that you've seen right here, all the way up until 58,
are completely better than Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta.
To the point where you don't even need to discuss it. It's a damage situation that's better. It's a defense situation that's better. And they probably have a mechanic that's better than G4's currently in the meta. But even if it's not, damage and defenses are enough for you to eclipse G4, because in this day and age, his defenses are horrible and the offenses just aren't what they used to be, but they're not completely bad. He can still hit you quite hard. In some cases, the ultimate can nuke, but in reality, we've got so many units that pretty much render him useless. With some of these at the bottom, so we've got like Glorio, maybe Tambourine, the Boo Bros, Trunks, and this is not ordered completely. You can see at some points it does look clean, especially closer to the top, but as we get to the middle, it starts getting a bit in terms of the order, but it's still characters we can all agree are definitely better than Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. And then they kind of just get weaker as you go down, but still better than Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, you know. But the ones at the bottom, you could maybe say they're questionable, but even then they probably excel over G4 in at least 2 out of 3 categories. And to let you know what those categories are, they are overall, so this is what we just looked at, damage, defenses, and utility. So damage, defense, utility, but overall is where we're starting. If we move further down, we're going to see some characters that are better damage-wise. So here are the characters that are better damage-wise, quote-unquote. Obviously, they could be debatable as well, but in other categories, they might be worse off. Not guaranteed, but in order, damage is way more important than defenses and utility in most cases, because that's what's going to win you games. Now, if we move further down, we get to the defenses, and here you see a lot of units. And you could argue all of these units very easily have better defenses than Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. Again, it's not ordered, but some people might be questionable. For example, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta over here. But for the most part, G4's defenses are actually horrendous. The whole point of his kit is for his counter to activate so that he wouldn't have to consider his defenses. But then down here, we got utility, so people might just have like a mechanic or support factor, endurance, revival, something that makes the battlefield a little more frustrating. For example, tag 17 and 18 and full power Frieza, they're able to nullify endurance permanently. Here we've got Demon King Piccolo, who's going to get the Rising Rush very quick, and the same thing with Goku Youth here. Using Gogeta Blue, you might want his Strike Assault against the UIs, which makes him better. Now, wrapping this up, does this mean that G4 is 94th on this list? And I'm going to save you guys that are supporting G4 some grace. No, it does not mean that G4 is 94th in Dragon Ball Legends. But what it does mean is, at his worst potential, he is below 93 at 94. But at his best, he's not getting higher than 59. He's just not. At the best, he's at the position 59. So he's going to be somewhere in between all of these units, which is even crazy in the first place. And then at the bottom, we just got some fan service, you know, some characters that just about didn't make the cut, but maybe you like them, so I just had to mention them. UVB, UGB, Ultra Super Vegito, Beast Gohan, and there was somebody in the chat that was propping Super Saiyan Trunks saying that his damage is better than G4's, but I'm not a believer of that. So if we weren't gonna micromanage, the easiest way to do this would be to go in between 58 and 94. And that number actually ends up putting G4 at 76. Right in front of Jiren, pushing everybody down one. G4 would be placed right here at 76. That is insane. So let's talk about what went wrong for the boy, because this is absurd. Now, the last time I did a tier list like this, and I know the video is not wholly about the tier list, but it gives you a quick representation of how dark the situation is for Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. But yeah, the last time I did a tier list like this, it was about Ultra Vegito Blue, but I didn't really take it seriously. I just wanted to rage bait a couple people. It's fun, you know, but this time we took it a lot more seriously, and as you can see, this list is long. But what should also be noted is that the tier list doesn't accurately represent the situation for Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. If we go back to post 6th anniversary, we know that there was the G4 Counter Task Force, the Navy SEALs, the Avengers, whatever you want to call them, sent to take him down, as he was the biggest problem in the game until that team stopped him. We had Boo Saga, and we also had sagas from the movies basically join forces to demolish this unit. Buff cancellation units, endurance units, and of course the King of the Hill, Ultra Margin Vegeta, who's still very much relevant today. So anywhere near the top, G4 cannot see, he will absolutely get slammed. But even against a bunch of other Sparkings and Legends Limiteds that have released in due time, or any units that have gone upgrades, he still can't hang with them, and that's down to the fundamentals of his kit. G4, although his kit is very oppressive, he got power creep, so by default his one nature where he's able to do big damage has been stripped of him. Defensively, he never had that from the jump, but his kit was designed to be revolved around his gauge, where he's able to counter the enemy 3 times, and if his counter goes off, he won't have to worry about getting hit. The whole concept is built around the counter, so why would you even consider your defenses if the gauge is going to fill and you're going to be able to counter? And counter everything at that. Strike cards, blue cards, blast cards, green cards, ultimate art, awakened art, anything that's a card is getting countered. Only way to get through him is to one-shot him when his gauge isn't full, or to use a Rising Rush, and that wasn't easy in his prime. Rightfully so, the developers wanted to take him down. But all of that is to not give Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta the benefit of the doubt. What it is to show is he was built with an open weakness that the devs plan to exploit further down the line. The reason I say this is because not every Ultra goes through what Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta has gone through. There's 2 Ultras I want to speak about right now, and they share similar situations, but they're not exactly the same. The first Ultra I want to talk about is Ultra Vegito Blue, who released in the 5th anniversary. He spawned in a literal death trap and managed to fight off everybody in that situation. 2 main characters I will mention, MVP 17 and Gold Frieza, both blue units, both on the same team and on the best team at that time. Only naturally would it have been hard for Ultra Vegito Blue to get through these guys, but he actually ended up doing so and lived longer than both of them. If we skip to the end of the year right before the festival, we then get an Ultra Super Janemba, who very much so eclipsed Ultra Vegito Blue for that segment of time. But we see the timeline right now and we know what happened. Janemba fell off with no counters coming his way, but while him being a very sharp counter to Ultra Vegito Blue, we see Ultra Vegito Blue manage to come back into the meta post Janemba falling off. I've made a video about Ultra Super Janemba and why he's basically a fraud, but long story short, he's a one-trick pony. Going forward from here, and I will also add, Ultra Vegito Blue has a very big fan base. He's favored very much so largely in the community, but I don't feel like that's a good point to raise. Otherwise, every single Vegito, every single Gogeta would have the same situation as Ultra Vegito Blue. Ultra Vegito Blue then continues to hang in the top 20 users list throughout 2024 all the way until the 6th anniversary, and in the 6th anniversary he hits a crazy peak of being top 7 in usage, showing that he was able to be consistently used. But I will say a big factor of that is Zenkai buffs. The point of this story is to bring out the fact that he got heavily countered by units, and specifically one unit who people say completely killed him, but he was able to come back and survive. The second Ultra I want to bring up is Ultra Margin Vegeta, the literal counter to Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. But further down the line, as we know in 2025, when Ultra Cell dropped, Ultra Margin Vegeta literally went missing. And then following that, we had the Diamond team make a resurgence, so there was also no reason for Ultra Margin Vegeta to be relevant in the meta. But the anniversary starts and a few units drop, which give Ultra Margin Vegeta a lot more life and keep him more capable than ever. Not the exact same situation, but what we see evidently is that these two Ultras are examples of units that get killed off, quote unquote, and are able to make a sharp return. And the difference between them and Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta is they never really had a weakness to exploit. I guess you could at least say Ultra Vegito Blue had no survivability, but offensively, nothing's stopping him. If he kills somebody, he gets his Vanish back, he's able to take somebody's Vanish, he has one of the hardest hitting ultimates in the game, and he can go type neutral very easily. Let me also point out that Blue MUI Goku has his green card, so that's his green card. Quite ridiculous kit to have, very easy to use. And in that same boat, Ultra Margin Vegeta, endurance, buff cancellation. Green card is the explosive type, does crazy damage, lock in ult. You really can't ask for more, so even if he does get killed off, it's very easy for him to come back. But with Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, he never had defenses in the first place. So once power creep kicks in, which it very much so did, outside of his one mechanic, which is very difficult to use because it requires him to take a hit, which again, he doesn't have defenses, there's literally no reason for him to return. The only way he could have kept being used is if he didn't fall off in the first place. But time progressed, mechanics came out, and it really laid his bed for why, outside of his prime, he was unable to bring out that longevity factor. And that's why we have him on this tier list at 76. But yeah man, that's going to make the end of the video. Do you guys think he deserved a higher placement than 76? And that's on average. So maybe I should be asking, do you think he could get higher than 59 based on all the units that you saw? Let me know in the comment section below, but honestly, I can't argue him over any of those units that were below 59. I think unfortunately, this tier list actually represents the truth, and he's gonna need a major upgrade to make a comeback. But hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. If you haven't already, make sure to press the subscribe button. We're on this grind to 200,000 subscribers. I appreciate you guys for watching, man. My name's Zakashi, guys, and I will see you guys in the next one, man.